Hello and welcome to another episode of Do You Want More? A UFC stat show right here on the Monkmatics channel. I am your host Monk, aka the Monkmatician, and in this episode of Do You Want More, we're going to be going into the 5 fights on the main card for UFC 266 Volkanovski versus Ortega, taking place this Saturday, September 25th, 2021. So, I think that settles it. Without further ado, let's get right into it. First fight of the main card, Jessica Andrade taking on Cynthia Calvillo, women's flyweight fight. Andrade 5'1", 62-inch reach, orthodox stance, 29 years old. She'll actually be 30 the day of the fight. Professionally, she's 21-9, 12-7 in the UFC. 30% of her fights have gone the distance. 40% of her fights have been ended by KO, TKO, 8 wins, 4 losses. 30% of her fights have ended by way of submission, 7 wins, 2 losses. Average fight time just over 10 minutes. She has a 7.96 ass whooping index. That is 9th out of 44 in the women's flyweight division. 0.25 power index, top 10, and a 0.3 chindex towards the bottom of the division there. Cynthia Calvillo on the other side, 5'4", 64-inch reach, orthodox stance, 34 years old, 9-2-1 professionally. She is 6-2-1 in the UFC. 58% of her fights do go the distance. 16.5% have finished by way of knockout, 2 wins, no losses, and 25% ended by way of submission, 3 wins, no losses. She has never been subbed in her professional career. Just over 13.5 minutes average fight time for Calvillo. 8.95 ass whooping index, so a point better than Andrade. 0 power index and a perfect chindex. Calvillo opened plus 195. She's currently plus 221. Her opponent Andrade opened minus 230, currently minus 278. So a bit of line movement here, and currently this fight is minus 135. Does not go to decision. I'm capping this fight about 55% Andrade, 45% Calvillo. A bunch of finish numbers there. 6 total in the UFC for Andrade, and a few against as well. I believe that's 5. So lots of finishes for Jessica Andrade. And a few for Calvillo. 3 sub wins there. Lots of finishes, as I just said. 4 in the first round for Andrade, 2 for Calvillo, 2 in round 2, 1 for Calvillo in the third, and then a few first round and second round finish losses for Jessica Andrade. So a bunch of finishes for these two ladies for this division. Basic striking data. Note, if I say strikes, just know I'm talking about significant strikes. Excuse me, too much Celsius water there. Making me all gassy. Significant strikes landed per minute, 6.15 for Andrade. That's a top 5 number. 50% accuracy. Very good. Gets hit with 5.2 strikes a minute and a 52.8% defense. Striking differential 0.95 strikes per minute. That is 13th highest in the flyweight division. Let's see here. Striking efficiency, 2.8% for Andrade, and she spends 60% of her total fight time at distance. Calvillo lands 4.18 strikes per minute at a 42% accuracy, gets hit with only 3.52 strikes a minute at a 67% defense, so very good defensive striker. 0.66 significant strikes landed per minute differential, just below Jessica Andrade in the division. She has 9% significant striking efficiency, very good, and spends 75% of her total fight time at distance. Knockdown data, Andrade has 3 in her UFC career and 3 against. Calvillo, no numbers for either category. Basic takedown data, 56% for Jessica Andrade. That's fantastic. She lands just under 3 takedowns per 15 minutes. That is 4th highest in the division. She also has a very good takedown defense of 66%, allowing only 1.3 takedowns landed per 15 minutes. 21.8% efficiency there. Very good numbers takedown-wise from Jessica Andrade. A positive 1.64 differential per 15 minutes. Calvillo lands 1.85 takedowns per 15 minutes at a 44% accuracy. Her defense is better than Andrade. 0.49 landed against per 15 at a 71% defense. Much less of a sample size, but still, the numbers are better. She has a 15% takedown efficiency. Control time data, 3-1 pretty much for Jessica Andrade, 2.7-1 to be exact, 30% to 11%. She spends 39.9% of her total fight time inside the distance and has controlled 73% of that grappling time. She has the third best get-up time in the division, 73 seconds, and an 88-second hold-down time, so not terrible. Cynthia Calvillo, 23% control time for, 1.6 control time against. That's the second best number in that category in the division, 14.2 to 1 control time ratio there. Calvillo has spent just under 25% of her total fight time inside the distance and has controlled a whopping 93.5% of that grappling time. She has the best get-up time in the division, under 30 seconds, and a great hold-down time too at 112.93. So very good control time numbers for Cynthia Calvillo. Submission data, lots of numbers for Andrade and Calvillo. 40% success rate for Andrade, 33% for Calvillo. 100% defensive rate for Calvillo, only 80% for Andrade. A couple reversals for Andrade and a couple against for Calvillo. Let's see what's jumping out to me here. The defensive numbers for Calvillo are fantastic. Top 5 in most categories here. I mean, the defensive volume, top 10, top 20 in almost every category. And then on the other side, the offensive volume is very good. A couple of top 5 numbers there for Jessica Andrade. Efficiency and differentials. I mean, Andrade pretty much positive everywhere except for leg striking. And same with Calvillo. Her numbers are much greater in those categories as well. And the differentials are pretty even for the most part. A couple of negative numbers for Calvillo and just one for Andrade, and that is in the leg striking differential per minute. Let's see here. Andrade, 76, almost 77% of the all strikes she's thrown have been to the head. 18.5 to the body, 4.5 to the legs. Calvillo, much less of a headhunter, or a little less, I should say. 72% of all strikes she's thrown are to the head, 18.5 to the body, and 9.5 to the legs. Much more from distance, though. 90% for Calvillo to 72.5% for Andrade. And last 5 fights statistics, 2-3 for Andrade, 3-1-1 is Calvillo, and these numbers are all leaning Calvillo's way, and it's not really close. The defense is much better, 10-12 points better. Strikes per minute, less than 2 differential, or more than 2 difference. I mean, we got some great takedown numbers here, control time numbers, all better than Andrade in the last 5. Ass whooping index for Andrade, negative 6.03. Has a decent power index, but an awful chindex, 0.92. And Calvillo is whooping even more ass than Andrade is. Not any kind of power, but a perfect chindex there. Andrade trending down in every single category except for striking defense in the last 5 compared to her career. In fact, her takedown defense has dropped 36% in her last 5. So you better watch out for that against Calvillo. Could end up getting a few takedowns here. Andrade has the much better strength of schedule, and it's not even close. I mean, she's 15 to 20 points ahead in most of these categories. You want to be at 70 to 75. That's about average. Anything over that is very, pretty tough. Andrade is over 75 everywhere. Calvillo is under 70 pretty much everywhere. Very low ratio numbers, while Andrade has some of the highest significant strength of schedule ratio numbers on the card. And here are the opponents. I mean, they both fought Katlyn Chookagian. Calvillo lost against her in a decision. Andrade knocked her out. No other common opponents in the last 5, but the names are Weili Zhang, Rose Namajunas, Katlyn Chookagian, Valentina Shevchenko for Jessica Andrade. So much tougher names there. We'll get down to some graphs. Striking, very close for Andrade, and she is trending down. Opponents trending up in takedowns while she trends down and has a lower average than her opponents. Same thing with control time. She is actually trending up, but not at quite the rate that her opponents are. Calvillo, better as far as striking goes, but is trending down, and just much better. Her opponents in the last 5 had shown no ground game whatsoever, no takedowns, and no control time. Basic fight metrics, Calvillo takes the grappling and the defensive metrics, and Andrade takes the offensive metrics there. Calvillo never been finished and has a better win rate than Andrade, and Andrade with the better strength of schedule all around. And here are the aggregate win-loss and finish rates inside the UFC and in the professional careers. Both pretty high as far as flyweight fights go, over 50% win and loss rate in the career. And even in the UFC, over 50% win and loss rate, an exact 50% finish rate for all the fights put together. I don't know. I am leaning Andrade. Well, I don't know what I'm leaning, actually. This is going to be an interesting one. I'm probably not going to play it, but it could be a really good fight. Let's go ahead and move on to a heavyweight fight. Curtis Blaydes taking on Jairzinho Rozenstruik. Blaydes, 6'4", 80-inch reach, orthodox fighter, 30 years old, 14-3 professionally, 9-3 in the UFC. 23.5% of his fights go the distance. 76.5% end by KO. That's 10 wins and 3 losses. No sub wins and no sub losses to speak of. Average fight time just over 10 minutes. He has a 20.84 ass whoop index. That's 6th highest out of 43 in the heavyweight division. Has an okay power index, 0.44. Not a great chin index, 0.81, 34th in the division. On the other side, Rozenstruik, 6'4", 78-inch reach, orthodox fighter, 33 years old, 12-2 professionally, 6-2 in the UFC. 14% of his fights do go the distance. 85%, almost 86% of his fights have been ended by way of knockout, TKO, 11 wins, 1 loss, and just like Blaydes, no sub wins or losses to speak of. Just under 9 minutes average fight time in the UFC, 5.97 ass whoop index, 2.7 power index, that's top 5 in the heavyweight division, and a 0.43 chin index. So pretty high, but better than Blaydes. Fight odds, Rozenstruik opened plus 198, currently plus 246. Blaydes minus 240, currently minus 316. So some pretty decent line movement here coming in on Blaydes. Fight doesn't go to decision, minus 210. Currently capping this 56% Blaydes, 44% Rozenstruik. Jairzinho 6 TKO wins in the UFC. Blaydes with 5. 4 of those have come in the second round, 1 in the third, and he has been finished in the first and second round. Rozenstruik, 3 round 1 finish wins, 2 in the second and 1 in the fifth. Has been finished in the first. And now we'll get into all these striking numbers, which clearly lean towards Curtis Blaydes. Blaydes, 3.43 strikes landed per minute at a 53% accuracy. Only gets hit with 1.86 strikes per minute, 3rd in the division. 56% defense, 8th in the division. 1.57 significant strikes landed per minute differential. That is a top 10 number in the heavyweight division. 9.25% striking efficiency. And he spends 42% of his total fight time fighting at distance. Pretty low number for a heavyweight. Rozenstruik, 3.15 strikes landed per minute at a 49% accuracy. Gets hit with 3.27 strikes per minute at a 40.5% accuracy for a differential of negative 0.13 significant strikes landed per minute. That is below average in the heavyweight division. He's got a negative 10.5% striking efficiency, and he spends 76.5% of his total fight time fighting at distance. Knockdowns, 2 for Curtis Blaydes, 2 against for Blaydes. Rozenstruik has scored 6 knockdowns, 1.28 knockdowns per 15. That's the 6th highest number in the heavyweight division. Has only been knocked down 1 time. 100% knockdown win rate and 100% knockdown loss rate. Basic takedown data. Curtis Blaydes, huge numbers here. These are some of the best numbers in the heavyweight division. Lands 6.64 takedowns per 15 minutes at a 56% accuracy. Only gets hit with 0.45 takedowns per 15. 56% accuracy, so not great. 12.25 takedown shooting rate. That's the 2nd highest takedown shooting rate in the heavyweight division. It's got an 11% efficiency there. So that's just great. The 2nd highest takedown differential at 6.19 per 15 minutes. That is absurdly high. Rozenstruik on the other side, no takedowns attempted. Has stuffed 24 of 30 though for an 80% defense. So very good takedown defense there. No takedown shooting rate, as we said, he's never shot a takedown. Control time data, 55% for Curtis Blaydes and 2.5% against. Those are top 5 numbers there. Blaydes controls half the fight, 8.2, more than half, 8.27 minutes of control per 15 minutes. That is crazy. a 22.5 to 1 control time ratio. He's spent 58% of his total fight time fighting inside the distance, and he's controlled 96% of that time. Has the second best get-up time in the division, 48.75 seconds, and a decent hold-down time of 74.7 seconds. Rozenstruik, on the other hand, getting completely outmanned in this category. Less than 1% control time for, 23% control time against. I mean, that is a 1 to 25 control time ratio there. Absurd. 23.5% of his total fight time has fought inside the distance, and he only controls 3.5% of that time. Has an average get-up time of 160 seconds. I mean, these are bad numbers here from Rozenstruik. Curtis Blaydes killing it in the striking department. I mean, he's literally ahead in every category. These are top 15 numbers all across the board as far as accuracy and defense. Volume, same thing. I mean, his defense specifically, top 5, top 10 numbers all the way down. His efficiency and differentials, he's working up on Rozenstruik. Positive efficiency pretty much everywhere. 1.21 head strike differential per minute. I mean, 1.5 ground strike differential per minute. This is crazy high number. Rozenstruik, not great efficiency, not great differentials. Pretty even keel, in fact, negative in over half of his categories. Last 5, Curtis Blaydes is 4-1, Rozenstruik 3-2, and Blaydes dominating these last 5 numbers. I mean, Rozenstruik lands about a half a strike more per minute than Blaydes, and he has 2 more knockdowns than Blaydes. But he has been knocked down, and the takedown and ground game numbers, I mean, they're so opposite. It's not even close. I mean, Rozenstruik does have 83% takedown defense, so that's the one thing he has going for him here. But the striking differential 1.34 to negative 0.23, the takedown differential 6.26 compared to negative 1. The control time differential is 80 points different, 62 to 20. I mean, ass whooping index 21, great power number, much better power number for Rozenstruik, but his chindex is awful, 0.48. That's not good. Strength of schedule, pretty even. In fact, almost identical except for when it comes to strength of defeat. Rozenstruik has lost to the undefeated and current heavyweight champion, or interim heavyweight champ, Cyril Gane. And then he also lost to current champion Francis Ngannou. While Blaydes has only lost 1 of his last 5 against Derek Lewis, and he did kind of get his ass whooped there. But he's been on a tear other than that. According to these graphs, Blaydes way above his opponents in striking, takedowns, and control time, and it's not even close. He is trending down, but that's just because these numbers are so high, like there's only one direction to go. Rozenstruik getting outstruck, but he has kind of turned that around in the last few. Still trending down, however. No takedown game to speak of, and no control time game to speak of. That's going to be a big problem when it comes to Curtis Blaydes here. Let's see. Rozenstruik has the distance percent and the takedown defense, but that's about it, and it's not close. Curtis Blaydes ruling the grappling control category. Rozenstruik neither fighter has been subbed. Rozenstruik has a much better chindex. Blaydes has been knocked out in all 3 of his professional losses. And then the strength of schedule is pretty much identical, like we said, except for that strength of defeat. And look at these finish numbers. I don't think this is going to go the distance. I mean, you could play contrarian and get a pretty good plus number, I bet, on fight does go the distance, or even fight goes over 2.5. I'm sure you get a decent plus number, but these statistics say that this fight is definitely not going the distance. In fact, what was the goes to decision? Plus 160? You could probably get a better number if you wait on that one. Next fight, Nick Diaz going against Robbie Lawler. Never thought I'd say this again. Nick Diaz coming back after 2,400 days. This is going to be a welterweight fight. Nick Diaz, 6'1", 76-inch reach, southpaw, 38 years old. He's 26-9 professionally, 7-6 in the UFC. 34% of his fights go the distance. 43% of them have been ended by knockout TKO. 13 wins, 2 losses. 8 sub wins, 0 sub losses for him. 13.8 minutes. Average fight time in the UFC, 4.9. Ass whoop index, pretty decent. Okay power index, 0.42. And a perfect chindex, excuse me. Robbie Lawler, 5'11", 74-inch reach, southpaw as well, 39 years old, so about a year and a half older than Nick Diaz. 28-15 in his career, 13-9 in the UFC. 32.5% of his fights go the distance. 53.5% of his fights have been ended by knockout. 20 of them being wins, 3 of them being losses. Does have 1 submission win and 5 submission losses. So quite a few submission losses going up against a submission master like Nick Diaz. 13.5 minutes average fight time for Robbie Lawler, a negative 2.8 ass whoop index, a decent power index of 0.81, and an okay to average chindex 0.15. Fight opened plus 210 for Nick Diaz. He's now currently plus 100. Lawler opened minus 250, currently minus 117, and this fight is pretty much even, or a pick'em rather, to go to decision or not. Couple round 1 and round 2 and round 3 finish wins for both of these guys. Pretty prolific finishers in the UFC, as you can tell. Nick Diaz striking data, 3.73 strikes landed per minute at a 41% accuracy. Please be noted that these are only stats for Nick Diaz in the UFC. I don't track Strikeforce, I don't track Elite XC, none of that stuff. Just the UFC. So just the 14 fights he's had in the UFC. 3.43 strikes landed against per minute at a 56% defense. 0.29 strikes landed per minute differential. That is, basically average for the division. Negative efficiency at negative 2.73%. Has spent just under 60% of his total fight time fighting at distance. 8 of his 14 UFC fights, he's thrown over 100 significant strikes, and he's only won 2 of those fights. Robbie Lawler lands 3.75, so very close to Nick Diaz at 46.5% accuracy. Gets hit instead with 4.5 strikes per minute, 59% defense. That's a negative 0.8 differential. Bottom 10 in the division. But he does have a positive efficiency rate. 70% of his total fight time has come at distance. Knockdowns, Nick Diaz has 3 in the UFC, never been knocked down. Robbie Lawler has 9. 2 knockdowns against. He gets 0.45 knockdowns per 15 minutes. And he's won every single fight in which he has knocked someone down. Basic takedown data. 35% accuracy for Nick Diaz. He lands just over 1 takedown per 15 minutes. Gets hit with 2.24 takedowns against per 15 minutes. Just under 63% defense, so not great there. Negative takedown efficiency as well. Lawler on the other side lands under 1 takedown per 15 minutes, but at a 74% accuracy. His takedown defense is pretty close to Nick Diaz's, just 2 points higher at 64.5%. But his takedown efficiency is 38.4% compared to -2 for Nick Diaz. Control time data, 15% for Nick Diaz, 25% against. 40% of his total fight time has come inside the distance. He controls less than 38% of that fight time. He has an okay get-up time of over 100 seconds and a decent hold-down time of 126 seconds. Lawler, on the other side, also gets out-controlled, 10.7% to 19%. That's almost 2 to 1. 30% of his total fight time has come inside the distance, and he only controls 36% of that fight time, so less of a percentage than Nick Diaz controls. His get-up time is okay at 89 seconds, and his hold-down time is okay as well, 112.6 seconds. Submission attempts for Diaz, 15.38 submission success rate. No submissions attempted for Robbie Lawler, and he's a 50% submission defense rate. 4 reversals apiece for these guys. Let's see, Robbie Lawler owns the accuracy and defense category here, but the volume is all Nick Diaz, especially the defensive side. Much better numbers for Nick Diaz when it comes to striking. Although Lawler does have the better efficiency, he has the lower differentials. As you can see, Nate a bit better at, as far as mixing strikes up. Nate 2-2-0, 1 no contest in his last 5. Lawler 1-4 in his last 5. So most of these numbers are going to lean pretty heavily for Nick Diaz. His ass whooping index is negative. Oh, turns out, sorry, I didn't mute that when I thought I did. Ass whooping index is negative, but Robbie's is negative 14. He's trending down in almost every single category except for striking accuracy. Does have a better strength of schedule in his last 5, though, compared to Nick Diaz. Nick Diaz significantly lower, almost 10 points lower in every category for the most part, 5 to 10 points lower. Here are the last 5 in the UFC, if you'd like to take a look at that. I mean, Lawler, a rough skid of 4, but look at his opponents. Magny, Covington, Askren, Dos Anjos, and the Askren one was, meh, did he tap or not? Who knows? But Diaz, though, I mean, fought the GOAT, Silva, fought the other GOAT, St. Pierre, fought Condit, beat BJ Penn and Gleison Tibau. So pretty good names there. Nick Diaz trending down in striking while his opponent trends up and actually has a better average per minute than he does. Takedown, not as good as his opponents, and he also gets out-controlled. Same deal with Robbie Lawler. In fact, his striking is much worse. Or his opponent's striking, I should say, is much better than Nick Diaz's opponent's. But takedown is terrible. Control time, terrible for him as well, while his opponents just trend up. In basic fight metrics, Lawler pretty much everywhere, but Nick Diaz is a Diaz, so that might mean nothing. Win percentage, Lawler has a better power index, Diaz with a better submission game, and then Lawler with the strength of schedule. And then the aggregate win-loss rates there for both guys. All right, let's keep it moving. Co-main event. Valentina Shevchenko going against not so lucky Lauren Murphy, if you ask me. Shevchenko, 5'5", 66-inch reach, southpaw stance, 33 years old. She's the champ, 21-3 professionally, 10-2 in the UFC. 37.5% of her fights do go the distance. 7 wins by knockout, 1 loss, and 7 wins by sub. No losses there. 16.5 minutes average fight time. Got a great ass whooping index of 10.44. Good power index of 0.17 and a perfect chindex. Lauren Murphy on the other side, same height, 1-inch reach advantage, orthodox fighter, 38 years old, 15-4 in the UFC, 7-4 or 15-4 professionally, 7-4 in the UFC. Over half of her fights do go the distance. 42% have been ended by knockout, 8 wins, no losses, and she also has 1 sub win. Lauren Murphy never been finished. Her average fight time is just over 14 minutes. Ass whooping index of 3.66, not too bad for the division. Power index just under Shevchenko's, and again, a perfect chindex for her as well. Shevchenko opened at a meager minus 720, currently sitting at minus 1324. Lauren Murphy opened plus 520, currently plus 739. So lots of line movement here. Shevchenko, or currently this is a minus 281 fight, does not go to decision. Guys, I'm leaning Lauren Murphy. Round 2 finish win, 4 of them for Shevchenko, 1 in the third. Couple finishes for Lauren Murphy as well. Basic striking data of Shevchenko, just over 3 strikes landed per minute at a 51% accuracy. Gets hit with under 2 strikes per minute at a 62.5% defense. Very good defensive numbers. 1.03 strikes landed per minute differential. That is 11th highest in the flyweight division. 14% efficiency for Shevchenko. Spends 55.2% of her total fight time at distance. Lauren Murphy lands just under 4 strikes per minute at a 40% accuracy, gets hit with 4.25 strikes per minute, 61% defense, a negative 0.3 significant strikes landed per minute differential. 1% efficient as far as striking goes, spends 61.5% of her total fight time fighting at distance. 1 knockdown for Valentina Shevchenko, never been knocked down. Same for Lauren Murphy. Basic takedown data. 2.64 takedowns landed per 15 minutes for Shevchenko, 63.6% accurate. That is top 6, both numbers. And good defense as well. 0.5 takedowns landed against per 15 at a 77.5% defense. That is the 8th highest defense in the division. 4.74% takedown shooting rate, 41% takedown efficiency. 2.1 takedowns landed per 15 differential, 4th highest differential in the division. And some not so good numbers for Murphy. I mean, they're average for the division, but that's all they are. Is average. 1.16 landed per 15, 34% accuracy. Has a decent defense of 70.5%. But against Shevchenko, what are you going to do there? Basic control time, 30% for Shevchenko, 14.5% against. That's a 2-to-1 ratio. She spends 45% of her total fight time inside the distance, and she controls 67.5% of that fight time. She has a not great get-up time and an okay hold-down time when it comes to that sort of thing. Murphy, 22.5% control time, 16% control time against, 1.42 to 1 ratio. Spends 38.5% of her total fight time fighting inside the distance, controls 58.7% of that fight time, and a decent get-up time, average for the division. Pretty good hold-down time, 175 seconds there. 40% submission success rate for Shevchenko, 1-for-1, 100% for Murphy. Couple reversals there. And then the striking numbers pretty much are going to be for Shevchenko, especially the defensive numbers. And then accuracy and defense as well. I mean, we're top 10 in most of these categories here. Efficiency and differentials, some very good efficiency numbers for Shevchenko, but Lauren Murphy has some decent numbers as well. But when it comes to the differential, it's not really close. 1.34 head strikes per minute difference from Shevchenko, half a distance strike. You know, she's better, 0.62 strikes better per minute on the ground. 5-0 in the last 5 for both of them, but Shevchenko pretty much rules every category, with the exception of takedown defense and strikes landed per minute. But as far as differentials go, she has the numbers. 1.35 strikes, 3.41 takedowns per 15, 29% control time differential. I mean, a 16.78 ass whooping index, a great power index. I mean, Lauren Murphy's numbers are pretty good too, but compared to Shevchenko, I mean, what are you going to do? Shevchenko still improving, trending upwards in every single category except significant strikes landed per minute in her last 5 compared to her career. She's up 31% in her takedown accuracy, 10% in her takedown defense. Her strength of schedule, nothing to write home about, but it is over 70, and it is better than Lauren Murphy's across the board. There are the last 5 UFC opponents right there. Going to take a look at those numbers, and we'll finish up with some graphs here. Shevchenko's graphs are so good, they're not even touching her opponents. She's that much higher than her opponents, and she's trending up everywhere except control time, but she's at 41% on average. I mean, that's fantastic. Her opponents way down below her. Lauren Murphy trending up everywhere, but striking her opponents are also trending up. A lot of that has to do with the Joanne Calderwood fight in her last fight. Her opponents have next to no takedowns, and she's trending up in hers, and then same with control time. Opponent's trending down, she is trending way up. Visual statistical recap, basic fight metrics. This is pretty much Shevchenko everywhere except for time fought at distance. And then Murphy's never been finished. Shevchenko has been knocked out, TKO'd. And Murphy also has the better power index number as well. Pretty much identical strength of schedule, but Shevchenko's is better. And then the aggregate win-loss rates. I don't know about this one. The numbers say it is going to go the distance. So it is a 5-round fight, though. Can Lauren Murphy last that long? I don't know. Plus 197, fight goes to decision. I might be looking at that for one of my 2 or 3 props I'm going to do on this card. In fact, I'm going to write that down before I forget. Fight goes to decision. Okay, sorry about that. And we're on the last fight of the night. And in fact, I'm going to switch these guys around just because I'm a weirdo. I want the champ on the left side. Second belt defense of the night. Alexander Volkanovski going against Brian Ortega for the featherweight title. Volkanovski 5'6", 71-inch reach, orthodox stance. Almost 33 years old by the time this fight happens. 22-1 professionally, 9-0 in the UFC. 35% of his fights go the distance. He's got 11 wins by knockout, 1 loss, 3 wins by sub, never been subbed. Average fight time just over 15 minutes. Average ass whoop index 13.66. That is 6th highest in the division. Has a great, decent power index, 0.49, and a decent chindex as well, 0.22. Brian T. City Ortega, 5'8", 69-inch reach, so the taller fighter, but 2 inches less reach. Switch stance fighter, 30 years old, 15-1 professionally, 1 no contest, 7-1 in the UFC. 31% of his fights go the distance, 25% of his fights have ended by KO, TKO, 3 wins, 1 loss, and 7 wins by sub, 0 losses. 12.5 minutes average fight time. Better, not better, 0.56 ass whoop index, so 39 out of 70. Has a better power index than Volkanovski, though, 1.03, and a better chindex as well, 0.14. Volkanovski opens minus 185, currently minus 165. I did jump on that, minus 165. Ortega plus 160, currently plus 136. This is a even odds to not go to decision. Minus 129 does go to decision. I got this capped at 61% Volkanovski, 39% Ortega. 3 round 2 finish wins for Volkanovski, and a few round 3 wins for Ortega. 1 in the first, 1 in the second, and a round 4 finish loss. So a few finishes between them. Striking data. This is all Volkanovski right here. 6 strikes landed per minute, 56% accuracy, top 10 numbers right there. 3.3 strikes landed against per minute at a 60% defense. 3rd best significant strike differential in the division at 2.71. That is just a great number. 16.3% significant striking efficiency. Has spent 70% of his total fight time fighting at distance. On the other side, Brian Ortega, 4.29 strikes landed per minute, 38% accuracy, gets hit with a crazy 6.28 strikes per minute at a 52% defense. Not good numbers there, towards the bottom of the division as far as striking goes. Striking differential, negative 1.99 per minute. That is the, 7th lowest in the featherweight division. Has a negative striking efficiency, yet spends 84% of all of his fight time fighting at distance. Interesting. Volkanovski, 4 knockdowns, 0.44 KD per 15. Been knocked down once. Brian Ortega, 5 knockdowns, 0.66 KD per 15. Also been knocked down 1 time. Let's see here. Takedown data, 2.09 landed per 15 for Volkanovski, 35% accuracy. Gets hit with 0.66 takedowns per 15 at a 72.7% defense. Pretty good defensive number there. Got a positive takedown landed per 15 minute differential at 1.43, 7.27% takedown efficiency. So some pretty good numbers there, and beating Brian Ortega in all of these takedown numbers, and it's not even close. Less than 1 takedown landed per 15 for Ortega, 21% accuracy. Gets hit with double of what he lands, 56% defense, negative differential, negative 22.5% efficiency. Not good numbers. Same with control time, guys. This is a trend here. All these green numbers for Volkanovski and all these red numbers for Ortega. 26.5% control time for Volkanovski, 3.41% against. That is a 7, almost 8-to-1 ratio. Spends 29% of his total fight time fighting inside the distance. Controls 88.5% of that fight time. Has the 4th fastest get-up time in the featherweight division, 46.5 seconds. And has a decent hold-down time of 114 seconds. Brian Ortega gets out-controlled 6.8% to 9%. Spends 15.8% of his time inside the distance. Only controls 43.4% of that time. Has a good get-up time of 55 seconds. Hold-down time, not so good, 77 seconds. Submission attempt success rate for Volkanovski, 0. 3 of 8 for Ortega, 37.5%. And that's the one thing about this fight, guys. If Volkanovski goes for a takedown or something, and Ortega's got the craziest guillotine. Go watch Frankie Edgar if you don't know about Brian Ortega. Watch the Frankie Edgar fight. Watch the Cub Swanson fight. I believe that's the one where he was falling off the neck and he literally readjusted his grip while off the ground. And Cub Swanson tapped before he could even hit the ground. So, watch Ortega's fights, dude. This dude pulls guillotines from crazy spots. So Volkanovski has to remember to avoid that. That's the one thing he has to avoid for the most part. One reversal each for these guys. The striking numbers, nothing's changed. It all goes for Volkanovski, especially the offensive numbers. We're at top 10 in a few of these spots. Defensive numbers are much better than Ortega. Ortega's towards the bottom of the division in a lot of these categories. Striking efficiency over, are all positive numbers here for Volkanovski. Negative numbers everywhere except for inside the distance for Ortega. He's got negative differentials in almost every category. He gets outstruck over 2 strikes a minute from distance, almost 1.6 strikes to the head. And Volkanovski over 1.3 head striking differential per minute, 1.27 distance. So we're right there. Over 1 ground strike differential. He's not a headhunter. Only 67.5% of all strikes he throws are to the head, 10% to the body, 23 to the legs. That's first in the division. Highest percentage of leg kicks thrown. And then the last 5, again, 4-1 for Ortega, 5-0 for Volkanovski. Look at these striking numbers there, all for Volkanovski rather. And then the takedown and ground numbers, most of them are for Ortega, as you would expect. 7.38 ass whoop index to 0.44. Power index is actually less for Volkanovski than it is for Ortega, and the chin index is worse. Ortega's perfect chin in the last 5. Volkanovski trending down in almost every single category. However, look at these strength of schedule numbers. Pretty good for both guys, but one is very good, and that is Volkanovski. Over 78 for every category here in the strength of schedule. And Ortega's also got a good one, but not quite as good as Alexander's. And there are the last 5 fights if you want to take a look at those. You beat Holloway twice. Who the fuck does that? And that's coming off of a Jose Aldo win? Get the fuck out of here. Oh, Frankie Edgar, I forgot. He TK. Oh, was that the uppercut? I think that was the uppercut. Ortega hit him with a crazy uppercut. But yeah, that Cub Swanson guillotine was crazy, crazy good. And I think he guillotined Moicano as well. But yeah, lost a big one to Holloway, and that's the difference in their careers here. Couple of graphs. Volkanovski's striking is way above his opponents. It's not even close. Takedowns, he is above his opponents, but trending down just a bit. And then control time, same deal, trending down, but 5.5 to 1 ratio control time. Ortega, way below his opponents as far as striking, but he is trending up. He's trending way up as far as takedowns go and way up as far as control time. So very good. You like to see that. Basic fight metrics. This is going to be Volkanovski everywhere except for time fought at distance. Both guys, both of their losses have been from getting knocked out. Neither has been subbed. Volkanovski's got the much better power index, but Ortega's got the much better sub index. And the win percentage is super high for both guys. Look at these strength of schedule here. Pretty fucking close, but Volkanovski takes it. And then the finish numbers. The losses 100% loss rate. Finish loss rate, I should say. The finish win rate, 56. This could go either way. Both guys obviously have the ability to go the distance. And I'm going to get more into this fight in my next video, The Tipping Point, which I'll get into here in a second. But yeah, guys, that's going to do it. That's the entire card. All 5 fights for the main card. We did it. I can't believe it. We made it through some absolute bangers on this fight card, man. This is not a pay-per-view you want to miss. So, I know none of you guys are going to illegally stream it. No one's going to do that. No one. You're all going to pay for it, and it's going to be fantastic. Let's make Uncle Dana happy and make sure he gets those pay-per-view numbers, guys. Come on. He deserves it. The fighters don't deserve it. It's Uncle Dana. What the just kidding. Obviously. Anyways, it's getting late. I'm going off on weird tangents. That was the entire main card breakdown for UFC 266. Please be sure to watch the early prelim breakdown out now and the prelim breakdown also out now. All 14 fights. I have all the stats for them all. They're all out. You're gonna love it every fucking second. Just eat them up like alphabets. But if instead of letters, they were numbers. Huh? Number bits. That's a good cereal right there. Anyways, guys, be sure to do your fight tape as well. Pair that with all these stats that I'm giving you, and I don't even see how you'd have to go against every fiber of your being to not make money this weekend. There are some really good spots. I like a couple spots. I like Daukaus, minus 185 right now. I like Volkanovski at minus 165 right now. And I like Nick Maximov at plus 105. I also have a nice little 5-teamer parlay. I really don't do parlays a lot. But how do you pass this up, dude? Shevchenko, Tyler Santos, Dvalishvili, Manon Fiorot, and Chris Daukaus. All those for plus 322. I mean, come on, man. Crazy opportunities to make money here. Best of luck to everybody. And do that fight tape. Watch these videos. And let's make the bookies cry this weekend. Boo-hoo. Maybe they should invest in Kleenex after we're done with them. Anyways, be sure to check out the other videos I put out. And stick around for a couple tipping point videos. And also a DraftKings video later in the week. Thanks again for sticking around. I'll catch you on the next one. Peace out, guys. Have a good one.